Hello again, my name is Dr. Bill Johnson. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Exploring Our Schools. I've done this many times before, and I've had always an opportunity to talk to students and the teacher who coordinates all of these activities, all about student-directed plays. Theater is a tremendous part of life at Southside High School, but one of the more unique aspects of what we do really focuses on student direction of plays. And so that's really what we'd like to focus on today and give you an opportunity to meet some of the people who are intimately involved with that activity. So let me start with Pam Seidemann, who is the teacher who coordinates this. We have two very special guests with us. Emma Wills Umdenstock, thank you very much for joining us. Really a pleasure to have you. All right, and Catherine Quinn, also a student at Southside. Let me start with you and just talk a little bit about what is this whole project. What are student-directed plays?
Okay, so I think that one of the most important things that we can do as we guide our students through Southside is to empower them. And this is, I think, a great way in theater to empower students to actually make their own theater and to learn to collaborate. That's the most important thing, I think, about the way the students collaborate to create something really beautiful on stage. So the students of my Theater Arts 4 class are given the task to, early on, I think they even start junior year, start thinking about who they want to work with. We break into pairs, sometimes trios of people who are going to find a work or create a work that they want to tell a story on stage. And I ask them to think about what do they want to say to an audience. Some students choose to do some things that are very serious, that have a message. Some students want to do something fun that's more escapist, and it's all fine. I also asked them to think about some cohesive theme. So this year they've chosen the theme of, I think it's
Dreams and
Dreams
Nightmares.
and Dreams and Nightmares, which is
Oh my goodness.
open-ended, but also each play somehow speaks to that idea. And then they spend time working as a group to cast the show, which is a tremendous task, collaboratively. So there's a pool of maybe 80 actors who audition.
Over 80.
Over 80 actors who audition to be in these 5 plays this year, and they have to be responsible. The directors are not just directors, actually. Direct, design, produce. They're responsible for putting the show together with a little bit of intervention. I wouldn't say intervention, advice from the teachers who participate on the production end. But we're really there to advise and guide. They're responsible for putting the show. The night of the show, we just watch their work, and it's amazing. What happens going from the page to the stage over really 6 weeks.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but when I said before, theater is so much a part of our life. Between the drama in the fall, the musical in the spring, and the student-directed plays in the middle of the year, think about the number of students that we have who are able to participate. I mean, you just said we have, about 80?
Well, over 100, because then there's another 30 who signed up to have crew positions, makeup, running crew,
Right.
stage managers, props, all of those. So
Between the three, we probably have 200 to 250 of our
Right.
students participate. I love it. I think it's wonderful. It really is such an incredible opportunity because there's a sense of teamsmanship that gets into the heads of our students, and they recognize how important it is to work with other people in order to make this production work.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that they learn, and it's not always smooth sailing, and that's important to learn too. That there are going to be obstacles, there are going to be artistic differences between the director and the designer. Maybe they don't have the same vision. Emma, as the producer, might be there to help them navigate that to ease any tensions. But I think that's all part of it too, learning to work through the obstacles and come out in the end with something that's
All right, I'm going to move over
product.
now. So,
Good.
Emma, if you wouldn't mind, just talk a little bit about your project and what you're working on.
Well, I'm the producer, so I sort of oversee all of the shows, and I just help to make sure that they're all doing all right, that I keep them on track, answer any questions they have on the production end, like what they can do with designs for lighting or set, and just make sure they're all okay.
It's so interesting. I mean, not that I don't understand it, but it's probably worth discussing from your perspective. What is the difference between the producer and a director?
Well, in our case, since we have like 5 different shows happening, the director is got one individual show. So their thoughts are very individualized. They are making sure their show is great. It's up to what they want it to be, and they're working on their ideas. But as producer, I kind of have my hand in all of them. I want to make sure that every one of them is great and that they're all happy and that they're all working together.
Well, in addition to that, I think, now someone is going to be responsible for making sure that they have players, they have an opportunity to practice. So, I mean, all of that has got to be scheduled and thought through by each individual director, as well as, I assume, by you coordinating it for all 5?
Yeah, they tend to have rehearsals at their own house, but then I'll also, whenever we are meeting as groups, I'll schedule those for our dress rehearsals and tech rehearsals.
Right. Now, they are put on at Southside,
They're
each
put
and
on.
every one of them,
Yes,
right?
right. They're
So-
all at Southside. And I think, one of the things, I know you were just saying, you're keeping everyone on task. I heard you have an announcement in our class today that the designs were due, for each play, because the play prod class helps to do sets and to some degree lights. And so she's got to make sure that the designs get to them in time for there to be, for them to build
Well, there's got to be a
or
lighting
walk.
plan,
Lighting
an audio
plots,
plan. I mean,
set
all of this has
ground
got to be thought
plans.
out, right? You have to be able to mic the kids or not. So, very interesting to see. So, Catherine, tell me about what it is that you're doing.
I'm a designer for one of the shows. So basically, I design all the costumes, hair, makeup, set, lighting, and it's a really big undertaking, but it's a lot of fun. I also sort of get a say in the direction because I have to see if the director's vision works well with all my designs, and it's really interesting. It's something I'm very passionate about. I love fashion and hair and makeup, so it allows me to channel all of my passions into one job.
So what's the particular play that you're working on?
It's called That's Not How I Remember It, and it's a show about a mother and a father who have conflicting views of how they met in high school back in the 80s. So it's told mostly through flashbacks, and it's very funny, very ridiculous, over the top, 80s music montages and dance scenes. It's a lot of fun.
So your role, tell me a little bit about it. I mean, so a lot of it is interpretation on your part, right? So you've got to get in there and understand the play itself, where it's headed, and then make sure that they're not dressed like this or like that, so that it's got to reflect what the 1980s look like.
Yeah, I watch a lot of 80s movies to get into the right state of mind for it. I've done a lot of research. I've created collages of different pictures for each of the characters to see how I would like all the costumes. So it's challenging, but it's a lot of fun.
It's a little painful for the two of us to sit here and know that we lived through the 1980s, and for you, it's ancient history. So the only way you get to know this is to research it by going back and taking a look at some of this. So what did you find?
Yeah,
What did you find?
I think that it's really interesting how the culture sort of affected how people dressed. I did a lot of background research into the 1980s. We considered getting a dramaturg for our show because there was so much background research, but I decided that it was something that I had to do on my own as a director. And
Now tell me, has makeup changed?
oh, a lot. We found that a lot of it was hard to find a lot of the colors that were used back in the 1980s. We had to do a lot of shopping online to find that.
Bright colors? in
Yes,
the
very
1980s?
bright.
Big hair.
Big hair too. A lot of hairspray.
Yeah. It's so interesting, just in what, 30 years? How the world has changed so dramatically.
Yeah, they do say every couple decades, though, the fashions come back,
Yeah.
so.
Well, that's a discussion for another day that you and I can have, right. Not that you would be sensitive to, well, no, you probably are, because you're going to have to cast these people as they looked in the 1980s,
Yeah.
right? Does that affect how they behave on stage, do you think?
Definitely. There are certain scenes, there's a party scene in it, and the characters have to dance. And sometimes, they would be dancing, and we would say, no one would do those dances back in the 80s. You have to kind of take into account, how people danced. We were watching, Dirty Dancing with our cast to, show them that this is how people danced in the 80s. It was really interesting.
It is. So when you say you do the research, it's just not reading, but you said you go back and take a look at some of the films?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of films with my cast to get them into the right state of mind. We watched Karate Kid, Dirty Dancing. I send them snippets and I email it to them and tell them you have to watch this and then get back to me. That's their homework.
Oh, so interesting, right? Yeah, to what extent those things actually reflect the culture of the time.
Right.
Yes.
The movies. I mean, I think that, that's the question about whether art reflects life or life reflects art, but I think that those movies have actually made a comeback, like The Breakfast Club, that really were so important for that generation.
It was.
And I think students really respond to the, even though it's like, oh, those back in the 80s, I think you guys, from what I hear, really respond to those movies. It still speaks to
Well,
you.
movies like Dirty Dancing and The Breakfast Club still
Yeah.
resurrect themselves
Yeah.
and appear.
16 Candles, is that
What?
Yeah.
is that one, right?
Oh, really? Oh,
We
my
reference
goodness.
it in the show.
Oh, wow. So, all right, producer. No, that's one aspect of it. What are some of the other things that you have to focus on and attend to?
So, right now, I'm starting to look into the technical side of things a lot. So I'm gonna be getting their designs from them, I believe next Wednesday, actually. So then I'll take those set designs and I'll bring them over to play productions class. And then I'll work with them on building them and making sure that they'll work and they're not too big because there's 5 shows, but then also making sure that they're what the designers wanted.
You know, it's funny how we take it so for granted. But if something goes wrong technically, you can't, in other words, it's such a distraction, you don't focus. You want everybody to be able to focus on the interaction between all the characters on stage. But without the appropriate lighting, miking, sound, direction, none of that really is focused. The audience then gets greatly distracted. If you're standing here and the light is over here. So tell me about how you go about doing that. I mean, and now you have 5 plays to do it.
Yeah, well, I've done tech in some capacity for every show at Southside that I've been here for. So I've had a lot of experience doing that because I'm in play productions class. So what we try to do for their sets is try to make them minimalistic as possible, just because you don't want large set changes in a 15-minute play. But then also lighting, I do a lot of the lights for school events and things. So I'm working with I'm going to be working with the directors and designers, helping them with the light boards. This way they can do their own designs and really make their vision what they want.
Now, do you put together the lighting schedule for the kids so that they know when to switch from one to another?
Well, I tend to run, for the past 2 years, I've run the lighting for student directed, so I'm probably going to do it again this year
Okay.
because it'll work with my job anyway. And I'm also.
It sounds so simple,
yeah.
but it's not. at all.
Yeah.
You really
I-
got to know every play, right? I mean, it's a little like what you have got to do as well.
Yeah. In the past, it's always fun. I'm just like, all right, that show's done. Where's my next script? Because I've got so many scripts to go through.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, what are some of the other technical things that you taught that you work on?
Well, making sure if they have sound cues that they want, that the soundboard's operating right, if they're going to need mics or not. Some shows might need a mics. Like we have one show that's actually a musical, so they may need mics. I'm talking with them about that right now if they want that. And it's just making sure that everyone's on the same page, especially because it's a big job for all of the crew. Like the running crew has to keep in mind which set pieces are for what shows, and they need to learn 5 different shows set changes. The sound operators have the same large job that I do for lighting, where they have to learn they have 5 different show folders to keep all of the sound effects in line and make sure that they know what everyone is. So while they're short plays, it's 5 different plays.
So, again, the directors essentially are those people who are working with you and in their students as well. So you've got to coordinate. So you want them to focus on the language on the stage, what's going on, the interaction, the feelings, right? That's their job. So I'm beginning to get a real sense of the difference between the producer, who's got to sit in their helicopter from 1,000 feet up in the air, right? And take a look at everything that takes place on the stage. Does the director get involved in that? Do they make the decision about what lighting should be and then work
They
with
do.
you?
The designers will do the entire lighting design. I'm just there to make sure that it looks how they intend it to be.
Okay.
And programming the board. She's being a little bit modest. Emma knows our lighting system better than anybody in this building.
You know, I think somebody sounds like she's almost ready for Broadway, right?
Yes, I'm going to say yes on that. And she actually was the lighting designer, and the programmer for our full production of Romeo and Juliet. So
Wow.
this is a career, I think.
Our usual lighting designer was very kind and
Yeah.
helped
Are you going
me
to pursue it, do you think?
Yes, I am. I'm currently applying to colleges for theater design and technology.
Isn't that right? Catherine, I've been a little neglectful.
Oh, no, it's
but
fine.
Tell me, are you going to pursue this also, do you think?
I would love to pursue some sort of creative career within my life. I'd love to major in journalism because I just love writing.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you help write the play?
No, I didn't, but I did edit it because it was a very long play that we found online. It was 45 minutes, and I chopped it down. I added lines here and there to make sure that each section flowed well with the rest of the show.
It was clear before. I could just see it in your face how much you love the work that you do with this.
Oh, I'm very passionate about it.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Right. And that comes across. And I think, really, you're a little bit different personality, but I think I see the same thing in you as well. So it really brings out opportunities for them to express themselves in ways in which you can't in class, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in play productions class for the past 4 years and theater arts now for the past 2 years, and it's a very different class. It's a time where you can express yourself creatively, but also it's interesting because it's where I get to combine technicality and creativity, because that's what I love. I love theater technology.
And you do the same thing, right? I mean,
Yes, working in student-directed is really different than working in class because we've been taking theater for 4 years, and the people that we work with are very experienced, whereas in student-directed, many of my leads have never acted before. So it's interesting to start them off and teach them the basics and then just set them free onto the stage.
you know what? We're at the end. I can't believe how quickly this went today, but it went very quickly. Look, from my perspective, and I think from any teacher's perspective, we want to know that you have an opportunity to find yourself, and I think both of you have. I mean, it's just remarkable to see that we're able to provide that opportunity here at Southside, and that you guys take advantage of it. So you've become really almost sounding professional at what it is that you
Thank
do.
you.
I mean, it's remarkable to hear both of you speak on this subject. So,
Thank you.
at any rate,
Thank you so much.
we're all anxious to see the student-directed plays. We say that they're just student-directed. They are very well done, I think people. So tell me a little bit about when they're going to take place, so we need to let everybody know, please, Pam.
Yes, so it's the first weekend back after the holiday
After
break.
the vacation.
It's Friday night, it's Saturday night at 7:30. It's the
We
third
come
and
back
fourth
on the
week-
2nd of January, I believe. so-
Okay, so that would be, which is a Wednesday, so it'd be the 4th and 5th of January, 7:30. Tickets are $5, which is a bargain. And there'll be 2 nights only, so.
Right. That's a great experience. It really is.
Hope to see
so.
you there.
Yep. So thank you both very much. Thank
Oh,
you.
you too.
And thank you all for joining us again. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Again, it is an opportunity for our kids to find themselves and express themselves in ways in which they can't always do in the classroom. So again, I hope you take advantage of sharing that opportunity and coming to the student-directed plays on the 4th and 5th, and we hope to see you there. Thanks again, and we will see you next time. Bye now.